much. Thank you to Tolani for having me here. Funny enough, she's a client, but this is the first time I'm seeing her physically. So amazing what COVID has done for us. Okay, so I don't know if every one of you were here for the first session, but it was amazing, mind-blowing. And just for the benefit of those who were not here, or if you need like a refresher course, I just have 3 things that I'm going to say. First of all, have a care package. 2, find ways to cut costs for your business. Get information about your customers to grow your business. And know that in your business, the money is in this Nigeria, the money is turning around. So try and network, to get people to know about your business. So we'll be going to the next session. And the next session is what you need to attract financing opportunities. This is a very, very important thing for every business, because at one point or the other, you would need some money to grow your business. And we have amazing people here who is going to help break down this topic for us. Okay? So these are our amazing panelists, but I want to just mention here so that we can all benefit from this. If you have your phone on ring, please put it on silent and take notes. See, you saw what I was reading, they're amazing speakers. So try and suck as much as possible from these ones. We're going to be having some questions for them. And after that, we'll have a 15 minutes time where we would have questions from the audience. So as we go along, just be noting your questions. Maybe towards the end of the question session, I'm going to remind you to get your questions ready. Okay? So I'm going to start with, what do I start with? That's a runaway answer. For that, I'm starting with Muyiwa. Is it okay to call you Muyiwa? Okay. As a startup founder, what steps did you take to make your company investor ready?
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me here today. Investor readiness is actually, it's not just an end place. It's an ongoing thing. It's a journey, right? Every day in your business, what you're doing as a business is what makes you investor ready. And first things first is, 1, identifying product market fit, right? So ensure that you find the right customers for your product. And then when you do that, you're proving to an investor that, well, this isn't just an idea anymore. It's not just something in my head. I have built it out and people want it. That is usually the first signal to investors, like, okay, people actually want this product. Okay, well, yeah, so maybe we should have a conversation about it, right? Second thing would then be your processes, right? Your processes within your business. How do you do 1, 2, 3, 4 things? What are the steps to do it? Are these things continuous in process? Can this thing do without you, right? I think the third thing is documentation. Documentation is very important. So you're documenting your expenses, you're documenting your revenues. I mean, I'm looking at it from I'm starting out today, it's just me, I don't have an accountant, I don't have any of those things. Simple paper and pen, right? Expenses, as the expenses are coming, you're documenting them. As you're selling, you're documenting your revenues as well. And you're So I think that more than half of business is monitoring, right? And there's no way you monitor without tracking or without documenting, right? So you document these things, and then you put in proper processes like I explained. Now looking for investors is like getting into a marriage, right? And you go through different phases when you're supposedly getting married. You meet someone, you go on a few dates, you officially become boyfriend and girlfriend, whatever that is called now. Then you say there's some people say courting after boyfriend and girlfriend. You now get it down. That's the one that you've gone to the person's house to say, oh, I want to marry this girl. Something like that. Then you eventually marry. It's the same thing, right? So as the investors are reviewing you, you're also reviewing the investors. Because it's not all investors that are good for you. It's not all investors that are meant for your type of business. Because it's very important that you know the type of investors that you want and what they bring to your business apart from money. So you think about those things and look for similar businesses and similar investors that have invested in those type of businesses. So it makes your conversation easier because they know your business, because they've already invested in similar businesses, maybe in other markets, right? So it's easy to have a conversation with them. On the fintech side where we are, having a data room is very essential. So a data room is where you keep all the information about the company, right, to share with an investor to be able to review you, right? And how that is done is the data room as well is something that you can set up on maybe Google Drive or Microsoft's OneDrive or Dropbox or Box or even Asana, right? So what you want to do is you want to segment all your documentation, financials, products, marketing, sales, legal, and then you put all of that so that you're making the job easier. In fact, you can go as far as writing an investment memo for your investor. So because the investment process as well, so the way I said that, you're going to go through a marriage, right? The girl that you want to marry, somebody usually introduces you, or you run into her somewhere, or you guys went to school together. There's usually a place where you're introduced. Whoever is introducing you wants information about you to introduce you to that girl. That person in this relationship is the investor analyst. Now, so the investment analyst is the one who is going to present your investment to maybe his partner, and then before it goes to an investment committee, right? So this guy comes and says, I want to see this data room. He sees your data room. Then you have if you've done an investment memo already, you've done like 40% of the guy's job. So the guy just looks at your investment memo and he's like, oh, okay. And there are a number of things that are important to check in an investment memo. It's almost like a proposal, right? And then the guy sees that, he makes his job easier, and then he fine-tunes that, and then it's easy for him to present. So making yourself investor ready it's an ongoing thing. Raising investment for a business is an ongoing thing. And I always say that it's not, and there are different types of investments, right? There's private equity, there's venture capital, there's angels, there's revenue, which is the most important. And it's not every business that requires you raising investor capital or investments, right? There is private equity, which a lot of Nigerians are very much more familiar with than venture capital. If people in my space understand when you say that, private equity guys, their model is different from our model. So being investor ready is about how you run your business every day, how you document your processes, how you've set up or incorporated your business. Are you incorporating in Nigeria? Are you incorporating in the US? Are you incorporating in the UK, in Malaysia? And you can do all of those things these days from your computer, right? Very easily, and you can make all this registration. So that's essentially the kind of process.
Fantastic. Well done. Please, a round of applause. Amazing information. And if there's anything you should take out of this is not every investor is good for your business, right? As someone who also works with a number of SMEs, there are some proposals I've seen and I'll say, don't take it. And it's kind of hard for the business owner to say, I need the money. But that relationship you are going to might actually end your company. So it's very important. And also get structure. I don't know, it's not when you need the money that you start trying to cut and paste. You have to know that you need structure in your business. Your documentation. Nigerian businesses, I don't know what's happening. Why don't we keep information? We only keep what we have sold. We don't keep the expenses. It's just the money that you have made. What about the money you have spent? That's also very important, okay? So we need to have structure and we need to document every single thing. Even if it's 2,000 naira, you just took Uber, document it. If you spend money from your own personal account, document it, right? Thank you so much, Muyiwa. So the next question to our only lady in the in the team. So what are the factors that are considered that you can consider when evaluating an SME loan application?
So there are a number of things. So before we can give you a loan, or before you are even like eligible for a loan as a business, you need to have been in business for a certain number of months. I don't know how long like banks or other financial institutions, but for us, 3 months. You need to have an active bank statement for 3 months. So not that you registered the business 3 months ago. No, your business needs to have been active for 3 months. From whenever, whether it's the day you registered or the day you made your first sale, you need to have 3 months documentation ready to present to us. Another thing we consider is your creditworthiness. So are you owing another institution, whether it's on your BVN from a long time ago, or maybe you took 10K from Pay Later one time, you never paid back. It's somewhere on the system, and we're going to see it, and we're not going to give you money because we know that you're owing somebody else. And many cases, when you even repay the loan, or like if we find out that you just repaid the money because of us, because most times when people are in that list, they're like, oh, I've actually repaid, I'm just still on their platform, let me get you a letter of non-indebtedness. But in most cases, actually it's people that never paid the money, they never bothered to until they needed money from somewhere else. So that tells us that they're going to owe us, and then when they need money from somewhere else is where we're likely to see our money. So that gives us a behavioral pattern. And these credit bureaus are becoming smarter. So some of them give you trends and tracks of customers. For example, like this is how long they took money from Sterling Bank before they repaid it. Like, so because sometimes when you've even cleared the loan, so far you've been reported, we can still see the data, so we can see performing. And then we see trends of how long it took you to repay, or from, and things like that. So that helps us understand the kind of person you are. We also value documentation, which is something that is like such a big problem, right? Some people don't know their turnover. We need your turnover. So sometimes when we call you, we don't even need your bank statement first. We just need to tell us or have an idea of what your turnover is. And most people don't know the difference between like revenue and profit, and which one is their money and which one is not. But luckily, because we deal with a lot of diverse businesses, we do a lot of POS or money point agents and things like that. We do a lot of people that are doing like selling aluminium. Like people do all types of businesses. So we realize that it's by industry. Some of the industries that really know the in-depth of what their profit is like telecom business. That's a very popular industry, especially when you're in the lending business, because they're the people that sell your SIMs to you, they're the people that register SIMs, they work with MTN, they get the recharge card, generate codes and sell it. So they're one of like the biggest players, but their business is not, is a 30-day cycle business or a 60-day cycle business. So they need short-term loans to support their business when they either buy in bulk from the MTNs or the Airtels, and then depending when they get their money back, because most of them function as wholesalers. So that's like one of the businesses I can say in like across that is not like a proper startup or anything, that they document properly because they're working with big organizations like MTN. So I feel like businesses tend to be more serious with their documentation, where they have clients or suppliers that require that from them. So some people that supply to FMCGs, like for example agricultural business, if their back end is supplying to the Unilevers and the PRGs and whatever, they also have documentation. So I feel like documentation is not ingrained in businesses. Like most people just see one Instagram seminar, start a business, or they have bad luck getting into school, they start a business. Like they don't have like any proper idea of what it's like or what they should be doing. So when they now need like things to grow their business further, there's no documentation. Like what you were saying about expenses. Like I remember a friend of mine had a business and she was telling us how much she's bringing in and how much has gone out, but she did not know exactly what the running cost was. And we were like, how don't you know that? And she's like, was I supposed to be keeping track of those things? And it was very interesting, but she was still young and it made sense. We're at a place where we could fix it, but we realized now that we're dealing with people that they're much older, their business, they say, I've been in business for 15 years. Okay, what's your turnover? They don't know. Right? What's your operating cost? Oh, okay, I have 4 people, we pay them this. So how much you pay for rent? How much you pay for that? And then they don't have the answers to these questions. So I find that that's something that is very important, because even from the first conversation, you know whether or not this person is eligible. So you don't waste their time through the application process.
Yeah. Wow, amazing. Please tell me that was not an eye-opener for you. So did you know that your track record was everybody's business? when you are borrowing money up and down, people are knowing. So you need to be clean with your information and don't be last minute, right? One of the things she said, which is kind of very important, is that, in fact, okay, let me say this. Your bank statements, anytime you are paying somebody, put a narration. See, that 1 second or 5 seconds that you put a narration can save you a whole night's sleep or 3 months sleep. In fact, there are some transactions we are still trying to resolve since last year, November. 9 million, they don't know who they paid the money to. And with accounting, you can't just post money anyhow. You have to know who you paid the money to, so we know how to classify it. So in your expenses, put your narration. And it can be just as Muyiwa said, pen and paper. That's not the best, but you can start with that. Because if water or oil fall on that, that's the end of your record, right? So at least, okay, put Excel sheet. Put a note in your phone. People have phones these days that are smart. Use the smartphones to get those records, right? And I think it's an amazing job that Payhippo is doing to be able to give you loans within 3 hours. That's just amazing. But you would not get that money if you don't have your record. So know your details. One thing I always say, yes, you might not be able to afford an accountant for every month. Can you afford for every quarter? If you cannot afford, get training, basic training to help you keep that record so that you do not lose opportunities. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. So I'm going to have the next question for Mr. Azeez. Can you discuss the key financial metrics and data investors typically look for in businesses you want to finance?
Okay.
Should I go again, or you understand it?
I think it's better.
Okay.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everyone. So, we are looking at 3 scenarios. You know, you can actually classify virtually everybody into 3 scenarios. Either you are service provider, manufacturer, or you are involved in trading. So, and you know, our focus here is on SME. By CBN classification, SME means you are doing business above with assets of between 5 million to 500 million. And you have an employee of minimum of 11. Most of us may not, there are some people, that means there is no focus on SME, there is no focus for micro. But there is no way you will discuss SME. If you leave out micro, you will have left a huge chunk of So when you start discussing, I will first of all, because my colleagues or panelists here, they've actually touched on the salient futures. You know, we're looking at key financial ratios. These financial ratios are common with people that keep proper documentation. So data, if you don't have, for SMEs these days, are largely unstructured. And the moment you are unstructured, you know, the problem we had, or we have as of now, is that people don't keep record. You know, we are unable to separate between personal runs and business. That's why you see a promoter sending his own personal account for business transaction. Then what Muyiwa said about keeping record becomes very difficult. Then the accountant will request, okay, I want to if you can't afford maybe a month to have your accountant employed, okay, on a quarterly basis, try as much as possible to have someone review your process. Not because of anything. It's for you to even understand where you stand financially. Because what's the essence of financial ratio? It's to judge your financial strength. So an investor, if you are not a startup, an investor is looking at 2 things. What is your historical performance? And what is your financial projection? If your historical performance, now, since we will deal largely with we're dealing largely with unstructured guys. So we will not go into, I will not be telling you about profitability, leverage, and all that. No, but there are some basic ratios that you and I must know, even if you are a sole enterprise. The first is cash flow to debit ratio. What does this mean? My panelists have actually talked on it. You see, understanding who do I go to get loan, getting to the right investor or financier. If you are SME, there are some financial institutions that are not open for SMEs. You go to them, you will not meet their criteria. You will always get no. And it will be as though your business is not even up for anything. You will be dejected. You go to bank A tier 1 bank, they don't have your time. You go to tier 2 bank, they will sluggishly set rigid criteria for you because they don't have the time to take time to look at to analyze your business in distinction because they don't have time. But there are some set of financial institutions that are built specifically for SMEs and micro. I call them MSME, micro, small, medium scale. Because the moment you do SME, I'll be talking about people that will look for 20, 30 million till around $1 billion. But we are talking about people that want to start their business with something. Needing 3 hours loan, 2 hours loan, obviously you will be benchmarked with a certain criteria, which is robotic. Do you understand? But if you want, that is most times for individuals and people that just want this quick cash. But if you want to grow your business, you need to sit down with investors that actually understand your business. Because the moment you don't understand your business, you will run. And the first financial ratio, so that we don't lose track of that, one is the cash flow to debit ratio. What does this mean? Don't look at the grammar. For information, I studied engineering, so I'm not an accountant. But I'm certified this, just to fit in. So that's just it. I'm certified this. So when you look at the cash flow to debit ratio, what is cash flow? Someone told me when I started my career, and we were like, please provide cash flow. The guy said, if I have cash flow, will I come to you? I was like, that if I have cash flow, will I come to you? So what are we talking about? Technically, it is called cash flow to debit. What they are trying to get is your available profit that can service your debt. Most of us, what we look out for is, revenue. I'm making 50 million, so I can pay 5 million, I can pay 10 million. You can't. No. Because your profit is micro. Most of the business we do, can you actually identify your net profit? If your net profit over a given period is higher than your loan repayment, forget you are working for the financial institution. We will be shying because we will get our money. But how is that what financial institutions are set up for? To be frank, we that we are set up as financial institutions, the most delighting thing you can give to us is for you to pay back and come back. The moment I have a bad loan, a customer that is not paying, I will use good money to do what? To service a bad money. So I'll use profit I've made from ABC to clear your own debt because you have refused to return my money. Do you understand? So first thing first, make sure what I look out for when they come to ratio and we are talking with MSMEs, I'll tell you, what is your profit? Can you identify, okay, if I sell, I talked about trading, service, and manufacturing. Most people fall under trading and services. Is it that you are selling something or you are providing logistics, a service or something? A very little portion falls under manufacturing. So let's focus on trading and servicing. On trading, look at if I buy this thing and I'm selling it for this cost. Don't look at the net, the gross margin. That is the direct selling price minus cost price. Don't look at that alone. You are going to pay other bills. People don't look at that. They will just look, I'm buying this book, 100K. I'll buy 100 pieces of it, and I'll sell it at 50 or 70K. Oh, I've made 30K. So they start spending from day one. He has calculated what he will get. The first thing, maybe he's using a bike before. The next thing is, can I get a loan to buy a car? You'll be like, what's your focus? Are you building business or you are? So the first thing you look out for is your cash flow. Your available net. When we say cash flow now, I mean net profit plus I don't want to bring depreciation. Your net profit. Let me not complicate matter. Net profit divided by your debt. So your net profit over 1 month, because most of us, we pay loans over a month or thereabout, over 1 month, divided by your repayment for that month. So if you are to repay 200,000 and your net profit for that month is 150, my sister or brother, you are just working for the bank. It's very simple, because you hit into what? Your own capital. The moment we miss that, forget, that's when people will now be naming giving some funny name to some financial institution. And the next thing, because we are so religious, is village people. Village people has nothing to do with you. As a matter of fact, it is you that you have refused to do what Muyiwa has said, document. And what my other lady has said, that we have refused to even understand ourselves. So the first one, not to drag so much, your cash flow to debt ratio, your gross profit margin. That means your net cost for a standard, or not standard, for average SME. If your gross margin is not above 7%, let's just like Halisi said, if you know you are doing a business, I'm a fan of, yes, keep knocking, but it's better to drop and look for something else. It is not a do or die affair. Nigeria is so vast that we have a lot of things you can actually do your business. So if I'm selling this and I'm not getting away, please, charcoal is there. Just sell charcoal. This other business. Is there any business? There are 1,001 businesses that you can do and you make. But if your desire and you are so much, you are so sure of this project, first of all, understand, will I return in the year 1, year 2, year 3? So that you are not putting yourself under unnecessary pressure. There are some businesses that will not bring anything until maybe the fifth year. And that's why he talked about equity, funding, venture capital, and all that. There are some business in the early days is go and sleep. So if you take loan for that type of business, definitely you will get into a problem. The business is not the one having problem, but both the financier, the boyfriend and the girlfriend that you mentioned, they are the one having problem.
Exactly. That's
so
very true.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much. Amazing. So please focus on your numbers. One thing that has cut across everything that they said, focus on your numbers. Keep your records. Because, see, you are praying every day that God should open door for you. When God opens a door, don't use your hand to close it and use padlock to lock it. Okay? It's true because, exactly. You wouldn't even know. So it's good that we understand, right, that these are things that we need to be mindful of, okay? So I think considering time, let's just take one round of questions again, and then we would round up. So please start getting your questions, and after this next set of questions, we would have questions from the audience. Okay, so Muyiwa, please tell us about your fundraising experience, the challenges you faced, and how you overcame them, and the lessons you have learned. 3 in 1, but yeah.
Yeah, we're still raising. We're always raising. And it's because, again, as you can see, I'm not a white kid, so I don't have white privilege, right? There are certain things and certain places you go in the world if you're white, right? And you say, oh, my name is Bruce, I'm trying to do this thing in Africa, I'm a graduate of Stanford, we've built an AI to do 1, 2, 3, 4, I'm looking to raise $5 million. Okay, 500, and people will give you money right there. But as a black man, right, some guy that grew up in Ijebu said he has built an AI to be doing something. Baba, you have to prove that AI, you know? So it's much tougher. And the terrain that we're in now, fundraising is probably the most difficult period right now because of the delayed effect of COVID that's happening on economies around the world that's now leading to some sort of recessions. Failed companies like the FTXs of this world, where a lot of funds have gone into, that is now affecting everyone. But generally, I think one of the things that I've learned the most is the fact that for every day that you still have a paying customer, you're going to survive another day, right? So don't always focus, which is some of the problems that people in my space, people in fintech, you come out because everyone can raise money these days. You think you can just go and raise money. You forget about the actual primaries of what a business should be, right? Is a business is set up to make money. It's not a charity, right? Even if the model is that you're not going to make money now, you're going to make money in 3 years, there has to be a clear path to it. So what I have learned in my journey now, because we're raising money at the most difficult period, what we've learned is you have to have a defensive approach to your fundraise, which is whether I raise money or not, my business will survive first, right? And how to do that is to get customers. So long as customers are paying you, you have a product that people are buying. Whether you're able to raise the money now, you would eventually raise it. But first, the business must survive. And it is when you, so there's this theory around how tough times creates strong people breed weak people bring back the tough times, and tough times again bring, so it's the same thing in business. So it's a cycle. So we're in a tough time now. Businesses that survive the next 2-3 years are going to be really strong. But what then happens is they become so strong, the people that didn't know about the tough times would join the company and think that, oh yeah, these are it is, and then you can just stand in front of somebody and raise money and everything goes bad again and we go back. That's what always happens, and that's why recessions happen all the time. So I think, and I've also learned that more importantly, fundraising is about storytelling. Fundraising is about storytelling. You have to tell a story of problem, solution, traction, right? So I've discovered this humongous problem, and I know why nobody else has solved it. Now I have solved it, and these are the number of people I'm solving it for. Investors, absolutely, particularly venture capital investors, they love that story. Nigerian investors are not venture capital focused mostly. They're mostly private equity. Yeah. Their model of business is traditional. You have a balance sheet, you have assets, there's the cost liabilities and equity. And the moment you kick off your business in a 24-month window, they need to see an indication that money is going to come back and how quickly it can come back. With venture capital, it's quite different. Venture capital can focus on, you know what, forget about making money for the next 5 years. We just want you to drive customer acquisition. If you drive customer acquisition, this is what's valuation, because they are selling a valuation play. Because what the venture capital wants you to do, what the venture capitalists want you to do is, I'm coming in to your business at 1 million naira. Your business is valued at 1 million naira. in the next 2 years, I need you to get to 20 million naira so that the portion of your business that I've bought would have grown by 20 times. The people that have given me money, their money would have grown by 20 times. And we can bring in other people to come and invest at that new price.
Fantastic.
The private equity guys want every year, they want to share money. They want PBT, what's profit before tax. Let's share based on how much of your business I've bought. It's totally different. So the venture capital mathematics is different from private equity mathematics. It's different from angel mathematics as well. Because they all have different tenets by which they make their decisions and how they make their investment decisions. And you need to understand those things to be able to raise money. If not, you're just going to find out that you always have mismatches. If you bring a private equity person into a venture capital business, and this is something that we've also seen from personal experiences, right? Which is why I'm a Nigerian, right? So most times when you want to start a business, you probably get your first set of funds from angels, from people that you know, people that trust you and all of that, and say, okay, let's invest. We invest. Oh, we like your idea. You have the experience. You figured out the technology. Let's put some money. Not all of them understand how a venture capital works. What they've done is, maybe we own 5% of this business. Guy, how far? You should be making money by now. You should be giving us, no. And not all businesses are set up like that. Because the things that require the business to be successful, they're different. Just like he said, if you mismatch where you should be using equity and you're using debt for it, the business will die quickly. And where you're supposed to be using debt, you're using equity. Same thing. So venture capital enables you to focus more on getting that equity. Private equity focuses on giving you minimal equity and building you up to take more debt. So it's figuring out all those models and which one works for the business.
Fantastic. Wow. It's like serious download this afternoon. Okay, so I'll just plead with our panelists. Please try and just give the punchline so that we can get the juice, but at the same time be able to manage time, right? We have very short time now available. But please note that not every investment is your investment. Look at where you are going and look at what you can match to make that investment, okay? So that you don't lose your business in the way, okay? So the next question to Boluwatife: what are some common challenges that businesses face when trying to secure a loan?
Okay, so obviously the general standard banking loans, collateral. So most people don't have the kind of collateral for the type of money that they need. And I think some institutions, they make your business the collateral. Like basically, if you fail to give back the loan, like they basically own your business. Some in this Nigeria, they do that. So some businesses actually, banking facilities or like institutions or financial institutions actually do that. So I think that's a big challenge for SMEs. Another thing is SMEs, well, because it's MSMEs most times, they don't understand the concept of having money to be able to take a loan, which is what he said something about, if I have cash flow, why am I coming to meet you? But really, we need to be sure that you can make the money that, would require you to pay back, which is why we need your business to be active in your transactions. Most people don't have the business transactions to show because they don't plan ahead to take loans. So they start businesses and see that, okay, if I spend 100K, I can make 150K. So let me go and borrow 1 million naira, so I'll make 1.5 million. But you don't have anything to show for that makes you, deserve the money or makes your business like qualify for the loan. So your business doesn't qualify because we can't really sign off based on your history or your business strengths. So that's one major challenge. And I think another thing is we require CSE and things like that. Some people don't sign up like that because it's not really a requirement. I don't know how it is in other countries, but in Nigeria, you can start selling something and nobody is going to come and investigate you. I don't know, maybe in Jordan, if you open a business, the government will start looking for you. Why are you selling things to people without approval or without sign up? I don't know, and I don't know that's ideally how it should be. But in Nigeria, we have that free range where you can just start a business. But we can't really give you a loan if you're not registered, because you can give us a bank statement that, it's just in and out. Maybe it's you and your friends that are transacting money for one another. But if we see a CAC, even though that's what you and your friends are doing, we've seen a document that shows that you are a business account. So I think that documentation bits of it, which is the registration, is a challenge. Collaterals, because of the type of financial institutions that exist. And I also think keeping your business trends in terms of understanding and planning for the loan ahead. So when you start a business, ideally you're supposed to start thinking about borrowing money. Most people do friends and family, and when it's, So I think that's a major thing. You need to be sure whether or not you need a loan. And loans are not something that you need when your business is struggling only. You also need it when your business can use the growth. So, and that's the kind of loans that people like Payhippo are able to support, just because of how risky the business is. And that's how we were managing to keep our repayment rate so high. Because we only support people that we can see that, their business is doing well and they have a trend and they're able to repay.
Great. I hope you guys are picking up this information. It's very sad, even for me as an accountant working for SMEs, and you try to explain, please, you need to design structure for your business, you need to keep your receipts, and these things can be so easy to do. Believe me, if you put your mind to it, it can really be easy to do, right? It can take you just 5 minutes to just send the receipt or ask for a receipt or ask for an invoice, okay? So please, and I get people saying, why should I register my business? I'm already making money. This is one of the reasons why you should register your business with CAC. And even now, if you want to do transaction with people trust you more when you have a business account. When you give a personal account, they don't trust you unless you give it increases your trust factor, like what Tolani said. Right? It improves your trust factor, okay? So let's have the last question for Mr. Azeez. How does your company evaluate and mitigate risk associated with loaning and SME?
Okay, thank you very much. To mitigate loans available to SME, one of the first things we do is called proper structuring. So what do I mean? Let's break it down so that we are not using any technical language. I won't lend to a school and expect repayment monthly. From day one, you have failed. Because you have lent to someone that has huge cash flow at some point, maybe beginning of school, January, February, March, April, May, then May, June, it will go up again, and you expect that person to pay you monthly. Forget structuring, dead already. Because that person will pass in January and February. March, will say, there are some people that are supposed to enroll for inter-house that are not coming. We expect 200 students. It is only 20 that we got. Bad structuring. And what causes bad structuring? What do I call this thing? Template approach. Everybody wants to get, like my lady said, there are some facilities that are not quick cash. You don't need quick cash. But you run to go and take quick cash, not minding what's your business. So what we do is, no problem. Let's understand your business. The moment I understand your business, I give you a proposal that I feel will match your business and we'll both be happy at the end of the day. So if I'm to give you a bullet repayment, I do a bullet repayment. If I'm to do quarterly, I do quarterly. If I'm to do termly, I do termly. And it is not peculiar to only schools. Even people dealing with seasonal products. Some people, their time is to sell maybe farming. The guy rears maybe layers or what's this, boiler layers, all these things. Maybe the next target is Easter. You now give that person loan to finance feed. How will he sell feed? You can't sell until Easter. It's not that he won't be selling. He will be selling in piecemeal, but that huge cash that will repay you is at the next repayment. And people will say, no, my bank, this thing in my bank is only monthly. Say, what you do is, first of all, understand yourself as a business owner so that you can not only tell the investor. So what I look out for, what are the mitigants I put in place? I ensure I match my repayment with your cash flow. Remember, cash flow, revenue. I match it with your stream. So if I don't understand your stream of cash flow, I'm in trouble. The second one is skin in the game. If you are not a startup, I won't advise you. Your your assets or your equity, as we call it, is 5 million. You want to borrow 10 million. My brother, there is something called overtrading. It's real. I've been burnt. For a very long time, I was a credit analyst. Analyzing, I can analyze every other person. I couldn't analyze myself. I invested in someone that was rearing 500 birds, and the person came. We were like, guys, this guy did well. And we said, let's shoot this guy from 500 to 5,000. The guy was using Okada somewhere in Ikiru. When we gave this guy 4 million at once, the guy bought Sienna 1.2 million. We saw him and we were like, we just went to visit. We saw the guy coming we were expecting someone to ride Okada. We were looking, we didn't see, he said, I'm coming. We saw Sienna coming. He said, it's not this guy. When the guy parked beside, we were like, He said, I just borrowed a portion of it. My profits, the profit that I will make on this bed, I will return your money. How can you borrow capital? You don't understand. So skin in the game. You must make sure the client or the customer has a significant stake. And you don't finance everything. We don't finance everything. It's because, except when you are doing a capital project that we so much believe that this is capital intensive and we can take you through the journey. And we do what we call tranches, disbursements in tranches. So I won't release all the money to you. If I'd applied that sense that I applied to other people's business in my own, I wouldn't have fallen into that. So those are the things. I would like to stop here so that we can entertain more questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Aren't our panelists amazing? Please tell me you have not gotten anything like truckload of things. Please round of applause for them again. So before we start questions, you are going to handle the questions, right? Okay, before we handle the questions, I want to say this, okay? I believe most of us here own a business, want to start a business, or already full neck deep into a business. So please, whatever you've taken here today, don't just hear it and, feel, oh, that's a good, wonderful session, and then you don't apply it. The application is what turns your business around, right? If you don't take anything home today, please, from today, start keeping your records, have structure for your business, and plan for funding. It won't just happen, oh, I need money, then tomorrow you're looking for it. You have to plan for it. Okay, so do we have questions?
Good afternoon, everyone. Please, how do I know my business is set for a venture capitalist or an equity? At what stage? Is it that when I'm at the MVP stage, which is most times the bootstrapping level with the angelic investors? So when exactly, or what type of business attracts venture capitalists and the other, that's the private equity?
So the question I want to ask is, when you guys were talking, you talked about how, I think Muyiwa talked about how, you don't need every kind of funding as a business, because if you're selling goods and product and your money and cash flow is running, you don't really need equity, maybe VCs and all of that. So for businesses who want inventory financing, right, what are the things you look out for to sort of partner with businesses or invest in businesses from a crediting angle of inventory financing?
The determinant of the type of funding you need as a business is usually based on the cash flow requirements of that business. If the business is a business that would immediately begin to generate revenue, right, you need to know how much expense and how long do you need to carry that expense for to generate enough revenue to match it and do more. So, take for example, you're trying to find the cure for Ebola. Now, finding the cure for Ebola is a business. It's a research business. The problem with a research business is you invest the money now, the guys go to work, and that work can take 6 years, right? When they get it, it works, then you hit the market and start selling. But you see those initial first 6 years, if you fund it with a loan, which is, say you get debt that is not equity, you run into trouble because you're not generating any revenue to pay that money back. Now, if you get it from someone who is, you can get it from private equity as well, but it has to be with the understanding that this is the cash flow requirement of this business. This is how this business is going to go, so that you manage expectations from the beginning. Because private equity people see it, they see money differently from venture capitalists. Venture capitals think about growth. Private equity people think about profit. But you need to identify and you need to work with each other to know when to expect what. So when you figure out what your cash flow requirement is, which you usually would have done as part of your feasibility, by the time you get to MVP as well, you already know what type of money do you need. So take, for example, again, you've built an app for people to transfer to one another, right? Just to do basic transfers, and you'll be charging them something. You need an initial capital to build the app, set up the team, support, before you start doing transfers. And when you start today, in your projections as well, you need to say that month 1, we're projecting 10, month 2, 20, month 3, 50, month 4, 100, right? And in those months, your revenues, you will still be carrying your expenses across in every of those months. So what determines whether you should talk to a VC versus talk to a private equity versus get a loan is going to be how that revenue is going to be coming. So really, it's about what the cash flow requirement is to be able to determine what type of funding you require.
Okay, so the question is around inventory funding. So let me put it like this. The first thing about inventory funding is understanding your cycle. Your transaction cycle. So you have to fund inventory. If your transaction cycle, that means maybe we are buying books. If I buy 10 dozens of books today, it will take me 1 week or 2 weeks to finish the sales of that 10. You know, you can pre-order before the end of that 10 days. However, if you take a loan that you will now you will be repaying weekly. You know, you will have repaid the profit that you will get in the second week using capital. You will still make your profit, but you have used part of your capital. So the first thing you look out for is to understand a typical cycle. It doesn't mean there won't be reorder. It will intercept or overlap, as the case may be. However, you must know the one capital. We call it cash conversion cycle. That means from the point you release the first fund till the time you sell and get your money paid back. You know, you can be selling on credit or make direct sales. You know why I'm attaching this to trading is because it's inventory. So once you are able to understand that line, and that's where the typical market women gets it wrong. It's very simple. Their trade cycle is usually 2 weeks or thereabout. But because they make everyday sales, they are in their mind, I make 25K, so I should be able to be repaying this person 5K. Whereas the guy, you are not making 5K per day as profit. The moment you miss that, it's panacea it's a matter of time before your capital will wipe up. Because most times, we don't know when to stop spending, because documentation. You don't know whether you are spending profit. You will see someone is going home after the day sales. You want to buy 1 carton of beer. 1 carton of Indomie, 1 carton of this from the same capital. Not minding that those costs are not from your own purse. It's from the business. You buy your domestic inside your business, you will run into a problem. So back to your question. First of all, understand the cash conversion cycle, which is in simple terms, when you purchase and when the money comes back. That is what will inform you one thing, what to agree with your financier. If you are to agree on a monthly basis, good. There are some sales that will take over 1 month, 2 months for you to finish the initial goods. Don't make the mistake of going back to 1 month. You will eventually shut yourself, because you will think you are overlapping. Your sales are overlapping. They are not. Because by the time you are making your loan repayment, you're actually using part of the capital. When the profit is not yet. Dangote said something that was so interesting to me. He said, the problem with Africa SME is that we hit part of our profit. Future profits. People will say, God, borrow me my future, borrow me 1,000 or 1,000 from my future money. We do that in our business. We have not made the money, but because you've seen turnovers, the next thing is, I can't be working again. This stress is much. Let me just buy one small Toyota Corolla. Where do you see a small Toyota Corolla? So, understand your cash conversion cycle. Ensure it matches your loan repayment. Yes, you are going to use debt. You can't use equity. Except when you have someone, if you are able to build very good financial model. Because the equity guys, you know what they do? They are smarter than all of us. Cash, what is debt? You can look at it and say, if I take 1 million, I'll pay you back 1 million. The guy is not interested, I'll pay you back 1.2 million in 1 year. The guy is not looking at, that means if you take that same money, it will take you 5 years to pay that whole 1 million again. So if you take year 1, you take 1 million, you pay 1.2. The interest you have paid is 200,000. It will take you 5 years. But the venture capital guy, very smart guy, he knows your system, your business will grow. He has seen something that you are not mindful of. When you were speaking, maybe you are an orator like Tolani and you can speak very well. And this person will not necessarily grow, what's this thing called? Profit. But this person will have larger customer base. And what he's looking for is his ability to tell someone over there that I have someone that has customer base of 1 million people you can reach. So marketing, they are not marketing your direct products. They are marketing the indirect products you are not seeing. And at the end of the day, they will profit more than you. It's so sure. Is it good? Yes, it's a win-win situation. I make profits, you make the other one. I'm not even saying it. So that's just it. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry, I'm going to just 1 second say this, right? Just to make things very easy for us. There are 3 things you need to think about before you know your profit. The first thing is your sale. So sale is not the money coming into your bank account. Sale is the money you are making for your business. So if, for example, you are into selling of shoes, the money which you have made from selling shoes is your sale. If, for example, you think that, oh, my AC is too old, I want to sell it, you are not into selling AC. So that money that you have made from selling your AC is not your sale. So that's sale. The second thing you want to think about is your direct expenses. So the expenses that you need to spend to be able to make the sales. So if you are selling shoes, what do you need to buy to be able to sell shoes? So you need to buy the shoe, or you need to buy leather to make the shoe. You need to buy glue. You need to buy your packaging. Those are direct expenses, okay? The third thing you need to think about is your operating expenses. Your operating expenses don't necessarily have to do whether you make a sale or not. So something like your rent, your salaries, your internet. So whether you make sale or not, you will pay salary. You will pay for your rent. You will pay for your utilities. So those kinds of expenses, I think you should be looking at how you can control. You cannot control the direct cost. We like so much, but you can control your indirect cost, which is your operating cost. How many staff do you think your business can afford? How much internet do you think you can spend? So all those things are things that you need to think about before you get to your net profit. So don't see money into your bank account and say, oh, I've made it. No. Just maybe 1% of that money is actually your profit, which is actually what you have. So please don't go and, get money from a loan or something and then think that, you are made. Think of those three things and then you get your net profit. Thank you.